Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Do you feel like you take on too much of the workload at home, right? That the division of the labor with whoever it is in your household is not always feel so equitable and fair? If that's you, or maybe you feel like you're not taking on your fair share, right? On either side of this, there are better ways to handle it so that we don't feel as though we are taken advantage of or we don't feel resentful of those around us. And so I want to share just a couple of methods that I have found really helpful in creating a more equitable division of labor at home. Now, is everything going to be 50-50? No. Could this work for you if you're living with roommates or, your family, or whether you have kids or not? Yes, all of these things can work no matter who you live with. If you're living with in-laws, if you're living with your parents, if you're living with, a partner, if you're living with kids, if you're living with roommates, there's still a lot of work that goes into the house. And most of us really haven't thought of it from a perspective of how do we just really divide this up in a way that makes sense for everyone. So I want to give you two methods to do that. So the first one I just call divide and conquer, or catalog and conquer sometimes. And what this entails is first writing out literally everything that has to get done to keep your household running. So all of the things, right? The grocery shopping, and the fact that we have to buy new clothes every once in a while, and the invisible labor of remembering who needs doctor's appointments and when, all of the things. All of that goes on a list or a spreadsheet. Then you want to just assign who is doing each of those things right now, right? So on another column, if you're using a spreadsheet, who's doing each of those things? Then you just want to sort by who's doing what. We don't want to look at this with judgment, right? We can only move forward. We want to say who's doing what right now, and does it make sense? Some people are taking a little bit less of the load, and maybe some people are overburdened. And sometimes we don't even realize that until we look at it. Sometimes we don't realize what all the things that other people are actually doing in our household, that they're actually doing more work than we thought, right? Until we actually look at it on paper. So then once we've looked at it and we said, okay, who's doing what? Now we can decide, does this make sense, right? Does this feel equitable? Does this feel fair? Should some people swap tasks, etc.? Then we can decide on what makes sense going forward. Maybe we're going to outsource some of this stuff. Maybe we shift around some responsibilities. We want to make sure that things are feeling good. And then we try it out for a few weeks and we see, does this work, right? If it doesn't, we can ask ourselves these same questions again. Maybe, the dishes we thought wouldn't be too big of a deal, but in fact, it takes an hour every day, and that actually is more work than we thought, etc. So we can renegotiate. Now, the other method that I want to share is a method that I just call buckets of responsibility. And this is where each member of the household agrees to take on certain buckets, right? So they're larger buckets than just these tasks. So in my house, this means, my husband handles all the things that are tech. He's an engineer. He handles all that stuff. He also handles all the travel planning. I love cooking, so I handle, pretty much all of the cooking and making sure that we have groceries and all of that stuff. My kids, they're responsible for plant care and for trash and recycling and garbage. So we just all have buckets that we're each responsible for. Now, what this does is it helps to really eliminate like the tit for tat of, oh, I took the garbage out last, or I did this thing last, and we can get rid of some of that mental scorekeeping that we're doing. It also makes it really easy to assign new work to people, right? So if we're going on a trip that's travel related, I know that's in my husband's court, that's his bucket. So I can just assign things to him to, research flights for the kids to go see their grandparents or whatever. We don't have to negotiate that because it's in his bucket, right? If there's something that is needed at the grocery store or we're running low on things, I'm in charge of that. And so other people can just add that to my list. We use TickTick for this. That's my favorite task app, and we just have a shared list where we can assign things back and forth. But this buckets method is a little bit more broad, but it really allows you to kind of say, okay, certain person is responsible for certain types of things, and then things that fall in that type, they just automatically go to that person. Kind of like at work, how we have people who have specific roles, and things that fall into their buckets, we send to them. So it's kind of the same. Now, with both of these methods, there's one key thing to remember, and that is that you want to renegotiate on the regular, right? Because things change. So what are the points in which you're going to want to renegotiate some of these things? So firstly, after we've initiated a new plan, after a couple of weeks, we want to talk about that. We want to say, is it working? What's working well? What's not working so well? What should we change, etc. We also want to renegotiate anytime there is a new member that enters or leaves the household. So if there is a new baby, or if the in-laws move in, or maybe you're in a roommate situation and a roommate moves out, these are all times to renegotiate. And then you also want to renegotiate with any big job changes. So if you're in a household and you switch from part-time to full-time work, or full-time to part-time, or one partner has a really big job change, that might be that's going to require a lot of travel, right? That might be a time to renegotiate some of these things. And then the last time that you want to renegotiate is as if you have kids as they get older, right? So as kids get older, they can be capable of handling more and more of the household labor. And so while my kids may hate me for this, every year at New Year's, my kids get new buckets, right? They get new buckets of responsibility, things that they need to take care of going forward, because every year they're more and more capable. So these are the two methods, the buckets of responsibility and the catalog and conquer. If you check out the link below, there will be a spreadsheet that you can download if you would like a template for how to do this catalog and conquer method. You can just download that and you can get right to work. If you have a different method that you've been handling the division of labor at home, let me know. I would love to hear about it. And if it's something that maybe I haven't thought of, I would love to add that into the repertoire here. So let me know what you think.
Hey, it's always the video editor. I just want to quickly tell you to like and subscribe. Only a small percentage of our viewers are actually subscribed, and it'd also be a really big help if you commented. It helps with the YouTube algorithm. And yeah, stay safe